ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the ASRC Sim Racing Club, American Sim Racing Club, excuse me. We are here at North Wilkesboro Speedway and we are getting ready to have quite a nice go of it here tonight. We're going to have some throwback paint schemes for you. I am Gareth McAllister, bringing the action with Team Goon Squad, 1080p 60 frames a second, if my Australian internet can manage to do just that. We're going to get ready to get along going with qualifying in just a moment, as some of the drivers currently are making their way out to get around this track. Very, very small oval here today, 0.6 of a mile, 1 kilometer. Long racetrack, very, very small oval. Pit speed 35 miles an hour, which should not matter, as it looks to be like we do not have extra tires waiting for these guys in pit road. So the only time pit road should come as a factor will be if damage is occurred. Look how close the lap times are, how quick they are, as Brett the Jet Hahn, our leader from last race, has made the fastest lap at the moment going around the track. Going to stay on watching Peyton at the moment as he tries to work his way higher than the 6th position he currently has set for himself. Being thrown down into 7th and looks like going to work back up into 6th just as I say that. So great work from him. Ron Hart's just coming to a stop after completing his qualifying laps, not quite able to catch the Jet up front. Donovan Cardy moving up into 3rd position, so fantastic for him. Now we have seen speeds of around about 125 miles an hour at a maximum here at North Wilkesboro, so I mean, it should be quite a crazy race, very small, decent high speeds, and we're getting ready to be, we are in the midpoint of this season. So it's looking good so far. This track opened up in 1947. That is 76 years ago. And you can see some of the throwback paint jobs on display for some of these machines as well. Charles Darling doing a great job of showing. One thing that I have grown to learn is that in the past, cars were a lot brighter. Sponsorships brighter, everything was brighter. And nowadays, it's almost I wouldn't say it's dreary, but it's definitely lost some magic, as Eric Hahn is the only one currently on track at the moment. And he is just getting ready to finish up his qualifying run as well. It's unfortunately not able to make up any positions there, stuck in the 18th position out of 19. So we're going to get ready to get gridded up for the first of several heat races here tonight. 19 drivers coming out, so it's looking good. Heat races, 8 laps, and the feature race will be 100, so something to look forward to indeed. As we're currently looking at the grid, John DeMister is starting up front. Mark Welch is going to be in the 2nd spot. Zach Rush in 3rd. Michael Sturgill Jr. in 4th. Tim Rogers in 5th, Ron Hart in 6th in the 3rd row, and Andrew Payne is going to be in the 7th position. Now, Andrew Payne currently leading our points championship. No stranger at all to being up the front, and knows how to make his way through traffic, so we'll see how he does in this first heat race of the night. But I'm sure we can get ready and look forward to seeing him move his way through the pack, as currently sitting only 10 points behind Hayden Swank in the championship, right smack bang in the middle of the season. 6th race here. As you can see, DeMister is going to be waiting for everyone to go past Ron Hart as well. I believe Andrew Payne has just passed Ron Hart because he's on the inside line, so disregard that last transmission. But yeah, 0 sets of additional tires, single file restart. We're going to get ready to get this one underway for you. As the Mustang's lights are off, they're going to go around once more. Probably a smart idea with such a small track. Let everyone grid up. Not such a big deal in the heat races, but definitely going to play a factor in the feature. 3 degrees of banking in the straights. Not perfectly flat at all, and 14 in the corners. But I believe from what I'm seeing, it's almost going to be not quite at the very bottom, but almost the middle lane might be the fastest. I've never driven at North Wilkesboro Speedway, so I'm not entirely certain, but I'm sure these drivers will show me in just a minute here. As the Mustang makes his way down pit road and we get underway. Zach Rush with a nice jump ahead of Mark Welch. Tim Rogers alongside. Rogers going to make that move fairly substantially. Andrew Payne quite a ways up there already, so he's going to go through. Mark Welch has really been stuck on that high side there. As Ron Hart is also going to go around. Sturgill Jr. underneath as well. Things are heating up towards the front as Tim Rogers continues to lead this pack. Andrew Payne going underneath Zach Rush. Rush gets left out, hung to dry, as he is above Ron Hart and dives it into the corner really deep. Trying to get that run on exit and does so. Stays in front of Sturgill Jr. Andrew Payne setting the fastest lap time we've seen so far in the heat race. 18.46 seconds. Very, very quick lap times as Tim Rogers continues to lead him around. Rogers is going to make that rear end as wide as possible. Rogers fires back as well. Last time by 18.45. 1/100th of a second quicker than Andrew Payne last time by. Super Late models looking very squirrely as they're going around the corners, losing that rear end a little bit. Ron Hart going even faster than those two, knocking off another 4/100ths of a second over Tim Rogers. These three really stretching it out as Sturgill Jr. is left a little bit wanting in the back. Zach Rush just behind, Mark Welch in tow. John DeMister is nowhere to be seen. As Rogers, Payne and Hart right next to each other. These three no strangers to having rough competition against each other. As Payne is looking very low compared to Rogers and Hart at the moment. Payne tries to make the move. Oh, almost gets collected by Ron Hart in the back as he had to check up for the corner. As he went for the dive. Final lap being shown. Barney the Flagman getting his... Definitely getting... Well, I'm not sure where I was going with that, but we're going to continue. I was going to say something about getting his money's worth, I guess, but the flag being waved around and abused, and the final flag is out. Tim Rogers going to take that win. Andrew Payne and Ron Hart is going to be coming in the third spot. So, an incredibly entertaining opening heat race as we get ready to grid up for the second one. I should also mention, I believe I have forgotten to mention, so apologies for that, is the sponsor for this season, Advantage Auction. We sincerely thank them for sponsoring the entire remainder of the season from, I believe, the 4th race all the way to the 12th one at the season finale. So thank you very much to them. Advantage-auctions.com. Make sure to go there and check out what you can get. Cheap deals on everything that you can probably think of from all those big warehouse stores. As we get gridded up for the second heat race here, it's going to be Dante Hewer up in first. Stephen Hoffman starting alongside David Payton and Hayden Swank. Donovan Cardy and Brett Hahn. There's some very big names in this heat race. This heat race is going to be very competitive. Not to say last one wasn't, because that certainly was as well, but I'm seeing a lot of drivers in this particular heat race that are tenders for the title and have been in the booth talking to me at the end of a race quite a few times. So this should be an interesting one to watch. We have, how many past winners do we have here? Swank's a past winner. Peyton's a past winner. Cardi's not a past winner, but we've seen him up here a few times. Brett the Jet is a past winner. Got at least 3 in the field starting this heat race, so this should be good. Of the 5 that we've had, green flag is out. Dante Hewer gets a nice run. Hoffman actually got a nice jump as well on the high side. Peyton goes underneath. Still side by side. Plenty of room given to all drivers here as Swank and Cardi are side by side just behind as well. As I mentioned at the top of the show, you might see a few different paint schemes coming out here tonight from some of the drivers. Some drivers really embracing that throwback week midway through the season. As David Payton makes the move on Dante Hewer and makes it decisively as well. As Hewer falls back into second position, Swank battling hard on the high side around Hoffman. Cardi gets checked up by Hoffman on the inside. Brett the Jet goes around on the high side. Cardi looks like he's really racing hard, but unfortunately not able to get around Hoffman on the inside line at the back of the pack here. This heat race being very, very tight. Hoffman and Brett the Jet getting close to being side by side. Speaking of, Hayden Swank has just made that move around Dante Hewer. Getting very, very close. Hoffman right in the middle of those two dueling pairs of cars as Hoffman also makes his way around Hewer. Hewer stuck on the high side. Oh, Brett almost gets into him. Cardi almost gets into Brett. We hint at 3 wide for a second. Go back to single file. Probably the smarter move. As I was about to say, we get a little bit calmer, but I was proven wrong as the Jet tries to make his way around Hoffman. Side by side. Brett Hahn continuing to make his way through the field. Has the fastest lap of this heat race so far. 18.49, so about a tenth, just under a tenth slower than our last heat race. As he just barely gets around Hoffman. Hoffman still sticking it in on the high side. Peyton looks like he's going to take this one as we approach the final flag. Peyton with a decisive victory. Hayden Swank behind. And Brett Hahn coming in third with Donovan Cardi, Stephen Hoffman, and Dante Hewer bringing up the rear of this 6-car Heat 2. All right, we get ready for Heat number 3. Get gridded up for this one. Eric Hahn is going to be your starting driver up front. John Kane is going to be in second. Devin McDonald in third. Nick Fleury starting alongside Ian fourth. Brian Wilderson in 5th position. And starting in 6th is going to be Charles Darling. Now, coming out from last week's race and this week's race, I've heard a lot of the drivers, I've asked them, who do we think has good performance coming into tonight? Or who do we think has a strong chance of winning this thing? And the name that keeps on popping up is Charles Darling, whether that's a fan vote or whether that's they just want to chuck the moz on him. And if that's an Australian term, I apologize, but basically what I mean is, you know, they want me to focus on him so that he messes up under pressure. But regardless, Eric Hahn drops all the way back into the 6th position as we get ready for the heat race. Devin McDonald, the lone Canadian, is going to be starting on the pole for this one. I asked Devin, does it get a bit weird being the lone Canadian starting these races? And he said, no. A fairly simple response. I expected a little bit more of a talk from him, but he was very, very chill about it. Seemed very relaxed coming into tonight. So Devin McDonald, pressure doesn't get to him. I would almost strongly suggest that he's probably going to be a force to be reckoned with. Not only in this race, but in races in the future, as well as has proven it in races in the past. We get ready to go underway. Devin McDonald, John Kane starting things off. Devin McDonald with a huge jump out the front. That's a great start for him. John Kane gets left to dry on the high side. Wilderson makes his way through. Fleury tries to follow suit as well. Fleury also a past winner here as well. 5 past winners out of 5 races, hoping to make it 6 for 6. As that, out in the back, Eric Hahn goes for a wild ride, hits the inside wall, goes for a spin. We stay under green though. Thankfully not getting involved with any other driver, as we have seen the rear end of these cars get very loose on the exit of these corners. Kane and Darling side by side heading into 1. Kane on the high side, Darling on the low side. Oh, and there's what we were just talking about. Charles Darling, a little bit loose, able to hold it magnificently. John Kane is actually going to end up giving that spot away as Charles almost goes for another wild ride. Nick Fleury currently has set the fast lap of this heat and any heat that we've seen at an 18.39 seconds. Beating Heat 1's time by about 2/10, as he finds himself in 3rd at the moment, using that draft behind Wilderson and McDonald. Wilderson trying to make the move on McDonald now. McDonald a little bit higher, but able to make his car wide enough. 3 laps to go. McDonald really holding a nice lead. Wilderson and Fleury getting very close together. Fleury tries to throw the nose in. He's got it on the quarter panel. Wilderson leaves him enough room. Exit gets a little bit tight. Wilderson holds onto the position. And this heat race has fanned out a little bit. As McDonald, Wilderson, and Fleury. Oh, and oh, okay, what is going on? It's some hectic stuff. McDonald goes for a spin after getting tagged a tiny bit by Wilderson. Wilderson checks up, feels sorry about it. Fleury gets involved, hitting the back of Wilderson, not ready for the checkup. And Charles Darling ended up taking the 3rd spot from the calamity that happened there. Something I definitely did not expect to see, which is why my lack of, I guess, reaction probably proved that. I was just so stunned for words. I didn't expect that to happen. Not sure if it was a bit of netcode. It looked like definitely not a deliberate action, or if it was, I mean, no, it wouldn't have been, because Wilderson checked up straight away. So that's, why do I do that to myself? I just make these really interesting calls sometimes. Anyway. So other points to note before we get ready for our 100 lap feature event. This track was actually featured in Top Gear UK Series 16, their East Coast road trip, back when Jeremy Clarkson, James May, and Richard Hammond were a thing together. Back in the olden days. It's funny, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but it really was. That would have been when? I'm trying to jog my memory. I think that was like 2010, maybe 2009. Oh, time flies, doesn't it? Anyway, I remember that being a fantastic, fantastic show as well, because the mayor ended up dancing. North Wilkesboro Speedway was prominently featured. Yeah, it was a fun series. Anyway, it's a fun show, or it was before calamity struck. So warm-up being completed here. As you can tell, I was waffling because the warm-up was happening. As the warm-up gets wrapped up here, we're going to get ready to cycle through the grid and let you know what is going on here. And it looks good to go so far. So let's line up the grid and show you what is what. Starting up front, Tim Rogers. David Payton is going to be alongside in the second position. Brian Wilderson, Andrew Payne are going to be third and fourth in your second row. Hayden Swank starting in fifth, right behind Andrew Payne on the other side, which should be interesting considering the very small distance between the two of them in the championship points at the moment. Nick Fleury starting in sixth position in your third row. Ron Hart and Brett the Jet Hahn starting in the fourth row. Charles Darling and Michael Sturgill Jr. are going to be making up your fifth row. Donovan Carty and John Kane are going to be making up your sixth row. Cycle it back here a bit. Zach Rush and Stephen Hoffman are going to be in your seventh row. Devin McDonald, our lone Canadian, going to be in 15th alongside Mark Welch in the 8th row. Dante Hewer and Eric Hahn are going to be in the 9th row. And John DeMister is going to be the lone driver in your 10th row here tonight as we get ready to go 100 laps at 0.6 of a mile at the historic North Wilkesboro Speedway here in North Carolina. Well, I added the accent. I thought it was pretty good, so yeah. Anyway, getting ready to get this one. So Tim Rogers once again starting next to David Payton. Going to be leading us off. Andrew Payne, Hayden Swank are going to actually be third and fourth, not fourth and fifth like we originally said. Wilderson is going to be starting from pit lane or maybe having a few issues. So he's relinquished his position and is going to be starting at the back of the pack. The green flag is out. We get ready to roll. Here we go. Tim Rogers gets a nice jump over David Payton. Payton actually followed very well, surprisingly. But that high side line not quite doing. We got a lot of people going sideways. Hayden Swank getting a little bit loose. Ron Hart just behind as well. Turn one. Really throwing a spanner in the works. Thankfully, no one getting too much damage. And these machines making a lot of noise as we light them up. Hayden Swank goes for a move on David Payton. Nice move there underneath Payton. Payton still stuck on the high side. Ron Hart is going to take advantage of that as well. You can see Fleury there waiting in the wings. As still struggling for grip. A lot of these machines. Ron Hart makes the move. Fleury tries to keep his nose in there so Payton gets stuck on the high side. And it seems to work as Payton is still stuck up there. We filed single file quite a ways down, but Payton is going to have to find a way to break into that line because he is falling back and abusing his tires while he does so. He and Fleury still having this side-by-side battle, neither one of them breaking an inch. As Fleury gets around, Payton falls in line ahead of Andrew Payne. Andrew Payne falling a little bit far, a couple of positions back as we've got a car almost looking like it goes around. Donovan Carty had a bit of a bobble. I say a bit, it looked like quite a bit of a slide, but car control is on point. And a lot of these drivers know exactly how to keep their cars pointed in the right direction. So great stuff from him as he now works his way through John Kane just ahead, fighting for the 9th place. go, I'll switch back to the tower so it's easier for everyone to get an idea of where their drivers currently are running. Personally prefer the tower over the ticker up the top of the screen. As always, let me know in the YouTube chat if you can, or if you want to, or if you have the time, of any particular driver, and I will put them on camera for display for the world as Eric Hahn goes underneath Zach Rush and makes that move for the 11th place. Last week's winner, Brett Hahn, getting his first win of the season. I guess it's everyone's first win of the season for anyone who's won, considering we've had 5 winners in 5 weeks, so that's definitely something you want to see. That's how you know the racing is absolutely incredible. As Hoffman here gets a little bit loose, you can see just behind Hewer. Tries to make the run, though, for the 14th spot. Just behind him, Wilderson gets very sideways. Able to keep it together, though. They fall back in line with one another. John Kane under fire from Donovan Carty now. As we pan back to the action just as it's unfolding, Donovan Carty is going to be real wide to make sure that move is made, and that's going to allow Brett to go through as well. John Kane unable to do anything about it as he falls back in line in front of Zach Rush. So we go back up front because it is looking like Hayden Swank is considering making a move at any point as he gets the nose a little bit lower in certain parts of the corner. Ron Hart just behind them. Oh, as Swank gets into the back of Rogers. Rogers goes for a big slide. Keep it together, my dude, and does so. Fantastic driving. Tim Rogers knows how to keep the car pointed in the right direction. Hayden Swank pulls off wide, seeming almost an apology, as they're both going to be on struggle street now, stuck on the high side. Rogers has a bit of a gap behind Payne if he wishes to take it, but he's going to fight for his position regardless of whether that hole is there or not. Sturgill Jr. trying to make it not there, but there it is. As Tim Rogers finds his way back into position, falls in line, losing 4 spots into the 5th position. So that could have been absolutely disastrous, but instead the drivers showing an insane amount of talent. As we've got a little bit of a battle further back, Devin McDonald and Zach Rush going side by side. McDonald makes that move. The Canadian going through the field, up 3 spots so far. Currently sitting in the 12th position. Andrew Payne, currently this is your closest battle. They are nose to tail. Let's see if we can count. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not even going to count. That's basically the entire field, so it's probably worthless counting how single file they are. As Andrew Payne tries to get that run, you could see, goes for the move on Peyton. Peyton allows the room for the move to be made and sneaks back in line very decisively just behind this pack that has nose to tail all the way through. Hahn tries to go around Carty. They get checked up a little bit with Darling. Ooh, that got very, very close to the wall as Charles Darling continues to struggle with his machine. The 88 really not seeming happy at the moment. Darling not able to get down in front of Brett the Jet and is now going to be stuck up on the high side. Plenty of room behind. Might have to give up that 1 spot to fall in line. And does so. Probably the smarter move. We still are only a quarter of the way through this race. Coming up to lap 25 out of 100. And it has come to my attention that Ron Hart is currently in the lead. Nick Fleury in second, Andrew Payne in third. Ron Hart has really been making waves and getting away from Nick Fleury. Ron Hart, I believe, coming in second last week. Unfortunately, not being able to be reached for interview. Definitely showing that he has the pace at the moment here at North Wilkesboro as he pulls quite a little bit of a gap. About 0.6 of a gap ahead of Nick Fleury. Andrew Payne still waiting in the wings for Nick Fleury to just make a little bit of a bobble so he can take advantage. But not able to do so. As we're going single file all the way through the field. Driver's getting a little bit fanned out now. Although still some heated battles out on track to be sure. So it's come to my attention that last week I told all the viewers that I was going to do a potential Aussie accent during the interviews, like more of an Aussie accent I should say, more of a sort of a, I guess a WA sort of accent, Western Australia, more outback sort of country. And I didn't do so, so hopefully I can remember and I might give whoever's up in the booth with me at the end of tonight maybe a bit of a good A. And we'll see if I can do my continent justice with my level of embarrassment, as Andrew Payne is still trying to find a way around Nick Fleury. This might be the option. Ooh, gets very loose. Really tries to take the apron to the exit of pit road to try and make that move. Not able to do so though, as Fleury is just in the way for Andrew Payne at the moment. Fleury's certainly no stranger to feeling the pressure and doing a great job of not letting it get to his head. And we've seen a huge example of that at the moment. Still side by side all the way through the grid. You can see this big pack here from second down to about 9th position. All single file right behind each other. Fleury, Payne, Payton, Rogers, Sturgill, Swank, Darling, and Hahn, the Brett Hahn, all right behind each other, nose to tail. This is allowing Ron Hart to get more and more of a decisive gap out front. As he's opened the gap now to almost 9/10 of a second. Sturgill Jr. got a little bit high there. Almost opened the door for Swank. Very, very close indeed, but Swank didn't take the opportunity, and potentially for the best. That could have been a disaster heading our way, as we've been caution-free throughout every single heat and so far the entire sprint race, feature race, excuse me. And there it is, there's the move. Payne had enough, decided to try something on the high side, so it wasn't working on the low side. And Fleury is going to keep him up there. Now, if Payne can make this work on the high side, this is going to be certainly something extraordinary, as he might find he's going to be using a bit more rubber than he wants to be doing. Without any fresh tires in behind pit wall, really have to consider that that might be a little bit of a mistake, but they're going to be side by side, continuing to battle for the second position. On Hart, you can see just ahead in the black number 51 machine. And he's getting closer and closer to these two. So even though they're side by side, they've almost dwindled the gap down a little bit as Andrew Payne goes for a slide. And here comes the first caution. And we will take a look. And they were side by side battling, Fleury and Payne. And it looks like they just got slightly into each other as Fleury went for a little bit of a wider entry. And Payne tried to be right next to Fleury on the entry. But gets a little bit of a knock. Go see that one more time. See there, and they just little bit of a tap. Potential net code involved. And real hard fighting for the second position. So unfortunate for Payne there. Thankfully not getting any other cars involved in that one. As I'm sure Payne, your current points leader, is not going to be happy to see that one turn out the way it did. And Payne having a little bit of a pattern forming in the last few races where he's just had some unfortunate circumstance. Just involved in some small wrecks. You can see the timing screen doing its thing. Trying to keep up. And that is because cautions don't count towards the number of laps we have left. So our timing and scoring screen has a little bit of a fit, because it's not sure what's going on and has to be redone every time. That's what you've seen in the past weeks. And I realize I'm only explaining that now, so you could work it out before I explained it to you. You're a very smart cookie. And on me, get a cookie. I don't know, you're gonna make yourself a cookie, get your mum or your dad to make yourself a cookie. I don't know, everyone deserves a cookie. Cookies for all. You know what, after this show, I'm gonna get a cookie now. It's in my brain. So if you were wondering on some sort of thing to bake for the next, I don't know, the next couple of days, to bake something, there you go. I'm just giving you an idea. Doesn't matter what flavor it is. But chocolate chip's the best. I mean, come on, you can't go past it. So Ron Hart continuing to lead as I try and get back to being serious. Ron Hart continuing to lead under caution. Nick Fleury just behind. David Payton in third position. Tim Rogers and Michael Sturgill Jr. is going to be in fifth. Single file restarts, because this track is very, very small. Green flag underway. Ron Hart gets a nice jump. Fleury is not quite left waiting in the wings, but a little bit further behind than he wanted to be. Swank tried to move on the outside of Sturgill, as it looks like the same can be said a little bit further back. Darling and Hahn are going side by side. We've got two Hahns, Brett Hahn and Eric Hahn, so I'm gonna have to make that distinction as Brett Hahn continues to make his way underneath Darling, and does so. Speaking of, let's go back to Eric Hahn, and oh my, what have we just witnessed? Zach Rush gets, I don't know, that almost looked like a clobbering. We're going to have to go back and watch that one. as Rush on exit. Let's see. A little bit loose from Wilderson. No, Rush comes down. Wilderson was there and gets sent straight into the outer wall, right into the path. And Hewer with a beautiful checkup to avoid getting involved in that one. That was amazing to see. Let's get that rewinded one more time. See it in real time. This is going to be quick. Okay. Quick it was. I want to do this one more time. Just because. Just because we have the time, I believe. We're going to go on board with... It's Hewer. There's Hewer. We're going to go gyro cam. Can find it quickly. There we go. Watch this in real time. Whoa, that was close. So that's what it looked like from inside the car of Dante Hewer, watching Eric Hahn come down. And fantastic avoidance, I have to say, because I'm telling you that he would have had to slam on those brakes. It didn't seem like he locked up, so I mean, absolutely amazing car control as I struggle for words right now. We get ready to go to green once again. Ron Hart still leading the field. Nick Fleury and David Payton still in second and third. Rogers and Sturgill Jr. still going to be making up your fourth and fifth position. I believe pace car's lights are going to be going out this time by. Yes, they do. Beautifully timed. As you may think, oh, Gareth, do you actually know what you're doing? Sometimes. We'll go with sometimes. As the pace Mustang is going to make his way down the hard left turn to pit road. Ron Hart is going to be very high up the track and get the jump very, very quick indeed, not wasting any time. Fleury just behind is going to be left in the dust just a little bit, but is going to close up that gap, I'm sure, fairly quickly. As we're watching Sturgill Jr., because it looked like Hayden Swank was thinking about doing something underneath. As Tim Rogers gets a little bit of a bobble. Little bit of a checkup from Payton in front. Remember, single file restarts, so these drivers are going to be single file, as we see Ron Hart get a little bit loose up front. Fleury's thinking, that's what I'd like to see. We can keep that pressure on Ron Hart. That might be the way to go. Ron Hart, currently your biggest mover in the race. Up 6 positions from where he started, but can't go any higher. Unlike Sturgill Jr. sitting in 5th, having a big slide on the exit. Who's up 5 positions, but can actually make up more. There is a battle going on a little bit further back. Devin McDonald has made the move into the 10th position around John Kane. Wilderson trying to follow suit. As Kane is stuck on the high side. Wilderson looked a little bit sketchy coming into the corner, but able to keep that car underneath him. Payne sitting back there after coming down pit road to get some repairs done from being involved in the very first caution. This is getting intense as Brett the Jet goes for a move. On Darling. Side by side. Getting very close together. As Brett gives Darling a lot of room. On the high side, Brett Hahn, I believe, is going to take that position away and does. As Charles Darling falls back to the 8th position. Whoa, what's happened there? As Donovan Carty almost looked like was smoking in the rear end just for a split second. Nothing showing up at the moment. Potentially getting into the wall a little bit. I'm sure I wasn't the only one to see that. As Brett Hahn looks to make another move on Hayden Swank. Just ahead. Nothing doing and falls back in line. So we just switched to watch Tim Rogers because it looked like there was a little bit different lines going up here at the front of the pack. Look how tight they're hugging the exit of turn 2. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. Got a little bit more room on the exit of turn 4 with the pit entry, but getting very, very close to the grass indeed goes Tim Rogers. You could almost see the outer wall of the left side tires getting into the grass there. Thankfully, if it's only the very edge, it's not going to affect you too much. But if you do get all of that wheel in there, that's going to really affect your race car being pointed in the correct direction. As we've got to battle a little bit further back, Andrew Payne is going to be going around, or going underneath, I should say, the Canadian of Devon McDonald, making his way into the 11th spot. As I said, these are throwback paint schemes. Not all cars, but certainly some embracing the old throwback schemes. Getting a good view of quite a few of them. As Sturgill Jr., it looks like. Oh, we have a caution come out. Interesting. Didn't notice that one happen. We haven't got anything on our software. But we do have a Zach Rush who does not, looks a little bit worse for wear. So that could be interesting. Do have a crash report for Zach Rush. Never mind. Oh, a little bit loose. Can't hold it. Oh, and over goes Zach Rush. That was entirely unexpected. I expected maybe a little bit of a spin, not a full-on cartwheel. As that... Alright, well, Zach Rush having a lot of trouble here tonight. I certainly did not expect to see that at all, but certainly deserving of a caution. Thankfully, he is all right in that machine and gets it going very, very quickly, as you could see. But looking very much worse for wear. That number 82 machine. We'll go have a look at it again. And it just looks like the front end is just crumpled in on both sides. Front tires really sticking out. Potentially some issues underneath that car. He comes down pit road to get some repairs done. It's John DeMister we're looking at right now, who was shown as the leader, but of course is not. That's our timing software having its moment. Do a quick flicker back to Ron Hart, who's currently leading still at the moment. Their struck lights are off, so we'll go through the top 5 and we will tell you that Ron Hart is currently leading. Nick Fleury just behind, David Payton, Tim Rogers, and Sturgill Jr. So 3 cautions and 60 laps, give or take. It's been absolutely crazy, but not as crazy as it could have been for sure, as Ron Hart gets a nice jump ahead of Fleury. We're showing crash reports again, literally as we came out of start, and it shows that it's Andrew Payne. So coming to the green. Little bit of a check-up. Oh, Charles Darling. Oh, no, and Payne gets involved, and everyone gets involved. Oh, my voice can't handle it. So Charles Darling was the first car to be involved in that one. This, yep, just, ooh. A whole heap of drivers involved. Thankfully, they were just coming to green, so low speed crash, but still not one that we want to see. As I'm trying to think, Andrew Payne, Charles Darling, John Kane, Stephen Hoffman were all involved in that one. As well as John DeMister, Brian Wilderson. They're all coming down pit road. Hopefully the pit crew can use their trusty hammers and beat and bang the panels back into shape. As that just looked like a misjudgment on Charles Darling's part. Just anticipated the green come out slightly quicker than it did. And then when Brett the Jet didn't go in front of him, he had to check up and got run into. Just the way of the road sometimes. Just the way of the road. And you can see there his machine looking very worse for wear. It has not been his day at all. As you can see, a couple of machines still on pit road. That's going to be Charles Darling and John Kane. Still getting work done. They've been sitting there for a couple of minutes now. As the field makes their way around. So Hart, Fleury, Payton, Rogers and Sturgill. These 5 have not changed ever since caution number 2. As it's been a lot of mid to rear pack drama. As Ron Hart starts it off a little bit with a less aggressive start. Fleury and Payton closing the distance. Was Rogers just behind Payton, almost getting a little bit of a push just behind. from Sturgill, getting very, very close to the rear bumper of Rogers. I cannot believe how close a lot of these drivers are to each other, yet not any contact being made. As we have another caution that's just come out. What's the old saying? Cautions breed cautions. And we're showing Eric Hahn. Oh, wow. Oh, what? Gee, he doesn't. Oh. And that's gonna be. That's gonna be a crazy one. That's what that's gonna be. Go back and have a look at that one again. As Eric Hahn just misjudged how much speed he'd have on exit. And tried to check it up as it got a little bit loose. A little bit too much of an overcorrect. Gets into Demister, who goes barreling to the inside wall. And so does Hahn. Demister keeps it on the apron. Oh, Hahn just misses. I believe that's Stephen Hoffman there. And then trying to avoid. That was going to be, I believe that was that just avoided that one? I believe that it wasn't Devon, wasn't Dante. Was it Kane? It was Kane. So, as I said, cautions breed cautions. That is the saying that they love to go with whenever you watch an official iRacing, not iRacing, an official NASCAR broadcast. And from what I've seen, not just tonight, but from most oval racing, it does seem to be the case. Not just oval racing, even in road racing, they do the same thing because it really checks up the field and everything goes crazy. Not sure if I said it last week or not, but welcome to 2023. I can still say that. I reckon January the 11th is still early enough to say welcome to 2023. Potentially got your Christmas decorations down by now. If not, leave them all year round. Why not? They'll be there next time anyway. As top 5 still have not changed. And hopefully your 2023 so far has been quite a good one. Filled with a whole bunch of joy. And we get ready to unleash the horsepower. Ron Hart gets a nice jump. Nick Fleury wasn't too far behind though, as Ron Hart was not as quick as he was wanting to be. I'm sure of that. As you go a little bit further back, Andrew Payne trying something on the high side. Actually manages to go around Brian Wilderson. Payne is not in the mood for patience right now, as he is on the move big time. His car's still looking a little bit worse for wear. That's not stopping his pace as he sends it into the corners. Hewer just in front is going to be the next one in Payne's way. He tries to get the run underneath. We knew it was coming. And there it is. The attempted move. Oh, almost getting involved. Hewer, gee. Oh. Good thing nothing came of that one. That looked very dicey indeed, as Andrew Payne set the fastest lap of the race just before that lap that we just had. At lap 67 was when he set it, and he gets into the rear end and spins out Hewer. Oh, and Hewer gets caught up in the wall. That gets involved. That's going to be Rush. As well as Eric Hahn was the one who came screaming in. And we can see that one more time. As Andrew Payne's desperate to make his way through up through the field, and there was a little bit of a gap, decided to take it. A little bit too much exit speed. Hewer with the counter. Steer and just unfortunately nothing doing. Manages to avoid, a couple of cars managed to avoid there. But unfortunately gets stuck up in the wall. There you go, just gets collected and stuck there. 711 gets involved. And Rush trying to make maneuvers gets involved into the 711 of Brett Hahn. So you can see John Kane there locking it down, making sure not to be involved himself. So craziness continues here at the ASRC Super Late Model Tour, brought to you by Advantage Auction. Advantage Auctions. Sorry, I missed the S at the end. I know this is sounding like an acceptance speech at this point, but I'd still like to thank all the friends, family, spectators, viewers that come out to watch each and every week, even if it's just this week. No matter what, whether you want to cheer on a driver or cheer on your broadcaster or just listen in to the fun, thank you very much for showing your support and appreciation. This wouldn't be possible if it weren't for all of you watching at home. Appreciate you taking out your time to watch these knuckleheads go around this oval, but doing a fantastic job, and I have the privilege to watch and bring the action to all of you sitting at home. And this time, without any issues. So, it is looking fantastic right now. And I'm going to touch wood now that I've just said that. So the pace car comes in and we get ready to go. Ron Hart gets a nice jump. This was probably the biggest jump we've seen him get so far. As Fleury is left a little bit wanting. David Payton, Tim Rogers almost getting lifted up into the air a little bit. The rear end by Sturgill Jr. right at the back. Swank trying to make the move around Sturgill. Not able to do it. Brett the Jet Hahn is trying to find his way around as well. So we have 4 previous winners currently in the top 10 of the 5 races that we've had so far, or that we've finished so far. Andrew Payne being the one that has had an unfortunate start to this race, or an unfortunate, I wouldn't say start, unfortunate race this race. As Ron Hart continues to lead with a half a second gap over Nick Fleury. Ron Hart has definitely found the pace ever since he got to the front. He has not relinquished it. And the pack just behind trying something to catch up as we've got a side-by-side battle. Wilderson underneath Cardi. Cardi underneath McDonald almost. All 3 of them getting very, very close together. As Hoffman is left just behind and we get touch. And a bobble. Hoffman checks up to avoid it. No caution. And there's going to be a caution now. As up and over. There goes Wilderson. Collected by Cardi and Hewer. And that was just an absolute mess. I know I've said a mess for the last couple, but I think this one screams mess more than the others. as that is already into it. Let's go a bit back first. So this is where this all took place. So Wilderson tries to go underneath Cardi. Little bit of a late dive probably. Still wasn't there. Just gets there to the quarter panel. Cardi gets knocked up, but thankfully keeps it straight. Wilderson actually gets caught the bottom end of that one. Hoffman checks up to avoid coming back up onto the track. And just behind, yeah, oh, and Ewer just loses the rear end. Such unfortunate timing. And then that escape road playing dividends and just being involved. And Cardi also on the inside, not quite sure what happened there. But yeah, up and over. Thankfully landing on all four wheels. As that, yep, that was just chaos. That's what that was. Cardi was still loose from earlier. That's why Cardi ended up still being there. We've got the call for green flag, so we've just missed it. But Ron Hart, the top five still haven't changed as Ron Hart gets, you can tell, a nice jump because he's quite a ways in front. As Fleury is following suit, you can see a little bit of a battle developing a little bit further back. As Devin McDonald tries to make his way up, currently your biggest mover up into the 8th position, up 7 spots. The lone Canadian. Showing how the Maple Leaf can do the job. As Swank is trying to make a move on Sturgill. Not able to do so. As I'm continued to be amazed by the class of drivers in this field. Each and every week they put on some of the most spectacular racing you'll see on the entirety of the sim. Ooh, a little bit of a wall love tap there for Hayden Swank and Brett Hahn. Dodge Jr. a little bit wide, but that's okay. Keeps the position. Swank really showing Sturgill that he wants the place. He doesn't want to spend any more time behind the number 90 machine. As Peyton almost looked like made a move on Fleury, or attempted to. Got less than 20 laps to go in this one. We're winding down the clock and getting ready for quite the final event. Fleury's made a little bit of a gap here to David Peyton now. Hahn looked like he was going a little bit wide there. Swank goes and gets checked up. Not enough for Hahn to make the move though. We continue to be single file, but that's certainly anything but a bore. As soon as we say it, McDonald gets a little bit of a shove from Cardi. Everyone checks up. Nothing doing though. Fantastic stuff. And they continue to go around this track. Unbelievable. Fantastic work there and great sportsmanship shown by Cardi, who's decided to come down pit road. Probably thought maybe it's not worth continuing if I'm going to find myself in these odd situations. And a lot of drivers having a little well, I shouldn't say a little bit, a lot of struggle here in this race tonight. As we've got a pass on our hands, Andrew Payne has made the 9th position, passing Stephen Hoffman. Hoffman is still on the inside though. Hoffman fires back. Middle of the corner, Hoffman has the speed, but Payne on the exit. Look at that run. And on the entry. And if Payne can just get the power down early, and does so. Whoa. That looked like Hoffman had a little bit of a bobble, and in order to check it up, had to get very, very close to the rear end of Andrew Payne, almost getting him involved in another incident. Tan looks underneath Swank, but nothing doing. Sturgill looks a little bit loose, keeps it together. 10 laps to go. Ron Hart developing a commanding lead. This top group is full of talented drivers. Virgil Jr. might have been under fire there from Hayden Swank. I thought Swank was going to make that move. Decided better of it. Certainly don't want to charge it in there unless you've got the right moment. Definitely got to pick your poison here, as Brett Hahn potentially could have made a move. Was close enough to do so. Decided against it on Hayden Swank. Almost like Hayden Swank is towing that car along. Attach a tow cable, you wouldn't know the difference. It looked like Peyton got a little bit squirrely. That's going to make Sturgill go up wide as the cars check up. Swank is going to take advantage and decide that's the time to go. So they're going to be side by side. As Sturgill's still a little bit more pace than Swank coming out of the corner. Swank is going to try it though. On the exit side by side. Swank pushing very wide, making Sturgill Jr. take that wider line. Very defensive pass as far as Swank is concerned. Brett the Jet is going to follow him through. Sturgill Jr. now is going to be stuck on that high side and has fallen back at least one spot. May fall back a second. Brett Hahn. And the caution has come out. Throw a spanner in the works. Here we go. We're showing Stephen Hoffman. And he was next to Devin McDonald. And, ooh. Okay, an interesting one. So, the way the car reacted almost looked like McDonald got into him. However, I'm pretty certain I could see that there was a decent gap between the two cars. Let's go back and look at that one more time. They're side by side entering the corner. And, oh, gets the grass. That's what I was talking about a little bit earlier. You get those two left sides in the grass and you're going to be spinning, and that's exactly what happened. McDonald was just an unfortunate person. Wrong place at the wrong time. Thankfully, no one else really getting involved in that one. So that's going to bring out our 8th caution, and we're going to have a green-white checkered, I believe, is going to be 3 to go. That sounds like a green-white checkered to me. 4 to go, that's right. Caution laps do not count. So we're being tricked up here in the booth just as you are in the spectator area. Hart, Fleury, Peyton, Rogers, and Swank now ahead of Sturgill Jr. is going to be making up your top five. Sturgill Jr. in sixth and Brett the Jet Hahn in seventh. As we get underway, Ron Hart's going to be wanting to make that gap as big as possible. Fleury has done a nice job to make a gap behind him as well, but goes a little bit wide. Thankfully, doesn't touch the wall, but gets very, very close. That would have been absolute chaos as Sturgill Jr. tries to make his way underneath Swank and get that position back. Swank says no, and that's going to cause a little bit of an issue. Both of them go sprinting to the outside, getting very loose, but surprisingly and amazingly, nothing really happening. So both drivers keeping it pointed the right direction, as Swank is going to be finishing a little bit further ahead of Payne. That's going to really bring the points championship down a little bit. We'll go back up front as Ron Hart looks to be taking the checkered flag here tonight. North Wilkesboro Speedway, Ron Hart is your winner. Nick Fleury and David Payton under fire from Tim Rogers, but not able to get it done. Payton will be your third position. Place winner. I struggled with that one, but he will be third. As Ron Hart does a burnout to celebrate. Ron Hart and Darling gonna be burning it out together. That's an interesting way to do it. As he continues to celebrate on this one. Like trying to do a smoke show all the way around, not quite able to do so. Oh, there we go. Beautiful tail out control. And a little bit of a spin to celebrate once more. So that's what we like to see. And we will get these drivers ready to go for their interview. So we're going to get David Payton, going to bring him up in here. There he is. David, you got a copy?
Yeah, Gareth, I got you.
Well, David, that race seemed very, very solid from what I could see up here for you, because it didn't seem like there was too many issues or woes, and you were able to keep staying in that third position.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how it went, didn't it? I mean, this track it was kind of I mean it was a one lane racetrack all night, and I think I was in third for most of the race. You know, definitely about 90-95% of it. I feel like so all I had to do was stay on the bottom, and I think I mentioned it before with Tim in the 48 behind me. Like I know him, I've raced with him for so long, and I'm super confident with him behind me. I wasn't looking at the mirror. You know, I knew he wasn't going to wreck me. He wasn't going to turn me, even though I think he tried a couple times. But so it was just a matter of just focusing on hitting the corners and staying on the bottom. And here I am, third.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, it certainly seemed to work out for you. Tell us what it was like with those tires, because we know you didn't have an extra set under there, under behind pit road, sorry. And we were worried that that might become a factor. Did you feel like the tires were starting to go towards the end of the 100 lap event?
Yep, for sure. I mean, I was done. I was pretty much done. Like I was able to keep up with Nick for most of that race, and then he was just pulling away. So it definitely was a factor. It depends on really on how you run the car early on and how hard you are on the right rear. Because I noticed in the heat race, the right rear, you know, it's just all out in the heat race, and my right rear was smoked. And just after 8 laps, it was pretty worn out. So I was trying to take it as easy as I could on the right rear, but the car then developed the push later on, and then it gets really loose on throttle. So you deal with a push on entry, and then you got to be super careful on throttle coming out. And otherwise it'll loop on you. So it was definitely a factor. As we were thinking about it all night long.
Well, David, I mean, it may have been a factor, but you can shown to everyone and to myself, and to I'm sure yourself as well, if you weren't too sure, that you can definitely handle the fact that the tires are getting loose on you. So fantastic job. And before we let you go, who would you like to give a shout out to this third place position? I know you're well loved in the drivers area as well as the spectators. So
Yeah, everybody loves me, I guess. Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, I want to thank you and Team Goon Squad for being with us for a couple, 2, 3 seasons now, and broadcasting and doing the work. We've gotten to know you a little bit this season, and we all really enjoy having you around, Gareth. So thanks for the work that you do. Thanks to Advantage Auctions for stepping up this season and sponsoring the series. And thanks to Tanner and all the guys that put in the work here at ASRC to put this league together. And finally, uh, two more people I'd like to thank. One, I'd like to thank Comcast for not disconnecting me during the race. It's been an issue I've been having for the last couple of weeks, although it hurts me to say it. Thanks, Comcast, for finally doing what I pay you to do. And number two, thanks to my better half, my lovely wife, Natalie, who always puts up with me playing video games.
all right, sounds good, David. And I guess we'll catch you later, and I'm sure we'll see you up here in the booth once again in the next coming couple of weeks.
Hope so. Got a good run going. Thanks, Gareth.
All right, that was David Payton coming in home in third position. So up next will be Nick Fleury. Let's bring him in here as well. Join the party. Nick Fleury, welcome.
Hello.
Well, oh, we see in your profile picture that you have a Ferrari shirt. Are you a big Ferrari guy?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, F1 is the greatest motorsport out there.
All right, you're that guy.
No, I joke. IndyCar is definitely way better.
Look, yeah, I probably agree with. In fact, I definitely agree with that. But regardless, you're rocking the 25 machine. That's always the number that I look for because I love me number 25. And you seem to do so much better than everyone else. You seem to do it quite often, where you're under so much pressure, and you can't be under much more pressure than having pretty much the entire field single file behind you, and yet you're able to keep control of yourself, be calm, don't over push it. How do you manage to be in that mindset?
Well, tonight was probably the easiest I had it because it was the 38 behind me all night long. So it actually wasn't that big a deal. No, I kid. Dave's a teammate of mine, and we all race and have a lot of fun with each other. And basically, it's all about just turning our head off, just focusing in front of you. If you don't have anyone next to you, don't even worry about it. Just run your race, run your line, heads down, and go after that leader.
Well, I have heard well, not the old saying, but I have heard some people tell me that, don't look at your mirrors, just basically focus on what's in front. Do you reckon that's a good thing to say, or do you reckon that's probably not the smartest idea considering if you see, if someone makes a dive?
Oh, absolutely. Rip that mirror off. I hate mirrors in race cars. That's not the way racing should be. But yeah, you just have to keep an eye on when somebody gets next to you and then worry about it then. Otherwise, just run your line and run fast.
All right, sounds good. Well, we'll ask you one more question, and that question's going to be, we heard from David that this is a one-lane racetrack, and we could see that a few times. However, we did witness, I believe it was Andrew Payne at one point, make an absolute monstrous move on the outside line and somehow make it stick. Did you think that the outside line was never going to come in, or what? I don't know. I guess what are your opinions on it being a one-line racetrack?
It's hard to say because, yeah, if you get out there, then certain parts of the track, you can really dominate that car on the inside. But the tricky part is entry, especially into three. You enter three up high, and the guy on the inside gets such a massive advantage. But he was doing a good job hanging on up there for a while. He may have been burning off his tires, and then we may have had, I got to go back and look, we may have had a little computer glitch there when we made contact and he ended up going to the back. But yeah, the rest of the race, the biggest problem were all the cautions we had. When you have restart after restart after restart, that leader gets such a jump that it takes like 15, 20 laps to recover before you can actually start trying to reel them in. What I really needed was a good long run and hope that I could save my tires just a little bit better than Ron there. But he did a fantastic job hanging on to the lead and being fast.
That sounds good, Nick. Well, I mean, well, yeah, that is the case. I mean, that's how he ended up being in first position. But certainly, hat off to you. I mean, you came second in a field that's this huge, and also, you've been in the top spot before, and it's always great to have a new winner every race. So, um, yeah, I guess I'm just gonna end my weird rant of whatever I was saying by by basically saying, who would you like to give a shout out to for your second place finish? And quite a good finish it was.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, Jesus Christ, of course. Without him, none of this matters. Next, my wife. She's so good to me and so generous to let me come out and race. Then I got to thank my sponsors, J Angle Home Improvement, Mike's Garage, and also CPM Incorporated. And then I want to thank my teammates over at RE2 Racing. We put together some fast race cars and have a lot of fun strategizing together. And then thank you for broadcasting, and thanks to our series sponsor, who, oh my gosh, I'm terrible because I've been gone for 3 weeks now, and I'm actually forgetting who our sponsor is. An auction, the auction place. I got to thank them for sponsoring the series.
All right. Well, spoken very well, Nick. Thank you to Advantage Auctions as well.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Advantage Auctions. My apologies.
Yeah. As long as the sponsor gets their name up in lights, I'm sure they'll be happy. But yeah, so thank you very much, Nick. Great talking to you, and I'm sure we'll see you up here pretty soon once again.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Right, that was Nick Fleury. Bring it home in the top spot, though. Definitely the one, the only.
To give him the keys back.
Ron Hart. Sorry to pull you from mid-conversation.
Sorry, man.
But quite a dominating performance out of you here tonight. Did you find that all those cautions really helped you with your advantage?
I don't know, man. I felt like we had a good car tonight and could kind of get away from them on the long run or the short run. So the cautions were fine, I guess. Get a little break, but I would have preferred probably for it to stay green to just not have to deal with the restarts and everything. But it worked out all right.
All right. So I do have to say, though, I mean, you seemed like the most dominating car out there by none, and you seemed like once you got out into the front, never let go of it. I mean, I know I already said this earlier, but like, did you find a line that just stuck with you better, or was it just you didn't let the car get too loose? Because I don't think I saw you really lose the tail end at all, whereas I saw some of the other drivers struggling a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this track's always been good to me. It fits my style pretty good. I like the bumpy old tracks. You got to kind of slide it around. It works out well, and found a good line now. I think I was running a lot lower than everybody, especially in 1 and 2. I kind of found that early that it really had good grip down there tonight, and I think that gave me a good advantage to kind of save the tires and really kind of pull away from people.
All right, Ron. Well, I mean, 6 different winners, 6 different races. You came, I believe, second. You came last week as well. Are you new to this series, or did you just? Because it almost seemed like you just showed up out of nowhere and have just been absolutely incredible.
No, man, I run. I missed a couple of first ones. I felt like I should have had 2 or 3 other wins by now. I got wrecked by Andrew leading with 5 to go at Nashville, and last week the tire strategy I pitted 1 caution too late after winning the pole and leading most of the race. So it's kind of been a little bit frustrating season the last few weeks to not get any wins. but I felt like I had a good car and a good chance to win. But it was cool tonight to put it all together and have a clean race and kind of drive away from them there the last half of the race.
All right, sounds good, Ron. So last but not least, who would you like to give a shout out to for your first place victory here tonight?
Hey man, Garrett, thanks first off for doing the broadcast. I know my parents watch all of these as much as they can and they enjoy it. So thank you for doing it. Thanks to Tanner and all the admins for putting on a good league. You know, it's cool to have 20 some guys and go 42 green flag laps right off the bat. It's fun. You don't get that a lot in the sim. So, but yeah, man, I appreciate everybody puts the time and effort into making this league happen.
All right, sounds good, Ron. We will catch you. I'm absolutely sure we'll catch you up in the booth. If not next week, then before the season's over.
All right, thanks, Garrett.
All right, that was Ron Hart, and you can see him just beginning the celebration as after he has crossed the line in the first position. We'll bring up the results for you tonight. Back to results. So I've missed my win. Let's try this again. Let's try and work this one out. Kind of weird how results tab isn't working. Oh well. There you go. You can see the results that way. So unfortunately, my results tab is not working the way it should be doing. Of course, there was going to be one technical issue. But regardless, thank you very much for joining us here tonight. As you can see, the table there of the 19 drivers that turned out tonight. Fantastic job from them. Next week, we'll be heading to Langley Speedway in Virginia. In Virginia. So we look forward to seeing you then. Take care. And this has been the American Sim Racing Club, their Super Late Model Tour, brought to you by Advantage Auctions and by Team Goon Squad. I'm your host, Gareth McAllister, and I hope you join us next week, same time, same place in Virginia. Take care, everyone.